Right back here on this Locked On NFL Crossover Thursday edition of Locked On Panthers and Locked On Cowboys. Crossover Thursday is presented by our friends over at PrizePicks. Download the app and use code Locked On NFL to win $50 instantly when you play $5. I'm Julian Counts, host of Locked On Panthers, and he is Marcus Mosher, the host of Locked On Cowboys. 5-8 Cowboys.
Not yet. 5-10 eventually.
Yeah, not
we're
yet.
getting there.
Jumping the shark there. 5-8 Cowboys versus 3-10 Panthers on Sunday. The Panthers are 2.5-point favorites. I still cannot believe my eyes. It's been a long time since I've seen a Panthers favorite in a game. And Canales has actually asked about this on Wednesday. He says he does not try to look at that stuff, but he understands Vegas is pretty good about it. And he did kind of chuckle at the fact that Carolina is favored in this game. But Dallas still wants to find a way to win strong. Mike McCarthy wants to keep his job. Wants to point to the injuries, some of the other issues to why he should get another chance in 2025. What three things, Marcus, must Mike McCarthy and the Cowboys do to win this game and potentially keep him here in 2025?
So before we get to that, I want to ask you a question. Because
please.
I think for the Cowboy fans, I think 50% of their fan base was hoping they would lose to the Bengals last week. The other 50% were just holding out hope that they could maybe go on a run. I think now that they're 5-8, I think 90% of the fan base is hoping they lose and get a top 6 or 7 pick. What about for the Panthers fans? Are they like just in the mode like, hey, let's win games? We haven't won that many. Or do you think they want a top 5 pick?
I think they want a top 5 pick just based off of the few people I heard. And I like my friends group chat, because I grew up here in Charlotte. So I got plenty of friends who are Panther fans. Our weekly group chat, I think most people are like, great, Bryce looks good. And the team lost. So top 5 pick. And I've come out and said, Carolina's been getting top 10, top 5 picks for the last couple of years, and that has not resulted in any winning. And a lot of those guys drafted high are no longer here.
Yes.
So it would be nice once in a while to actually win these games.
Enjoy a win.
Yeah. Be 6-7, have a chance to maybe win the division, and have your quarterback look like he could be the future. I would prefer that. Now, it's different. We got to sit here and talk about this every single day, and it's far more enjoyable to talk about a winning team. For me, I started doing this in 2021. I have not talked about very good teams at all. There's been like a very small window back in the end of 2022 season with Steve Wilkes that were actually fun during the season here in Carolina. So I would prefer to see them win, but I know most people would like to see a top 5 pick, as they do have glaring needs on the other side of the ball defensively, especially when it comes like edge rush, defensive line. That could be, fixed with Abdul Carter out of Penn State or Mason Graham out of Michigan, potentially.
Those are names that Cowboy fans will know from doing 5 million mock drafts and Pro Football Focus. For the Cowboys to win this game, it's going to be, they got to win it on the ground. You can't let Cooper Rush get back there and throw the ball 40 times. Run the ball. We saw Rico have 19 carries last week for 137 yards. If they can run the ball in this game, stay balanced, they're going to have a chance. And then on the flip side, stop Chuba Hubbard. Like, make this a drop-back passing game for Bryce Young. Mike Zimmer is one of the best defensive coordinators in the league at showing pressure and confusing young quarterbacks. So if they can get Bryce Young into some of these long third down situations where they can send 6 guys and drop a couple in coverage, I think they'll be okay. And then don't make mental mistakes. The Cowboys beat the Bengals last week if they don't make an unforced error on a punt block. If they just let the ball go and they let it run out of bounds, the Cowboys are beating the Bengals, and they're 6-7 with a real chance of making the playoffs. Mental mistakes, you cannot have them if you want to win this game.
Yeah, and a lot of that goes right to what I'm thinking about for Carolina and what they must do. I mean, I don't feel like they're going to stop the run game. They are far and away the worst run defense team in the NFL. They've given up more yards on the ground this year than they gave up last year. Yeah. And there are still 4 more games left to play, Marcus, which is insane. But they've been successful, especially when handing the ball off to Chuba Hubbard on the ground. Jonathan Brooks out for the rest of the season after tearing his ACL in his right knee for the second time in 13 months. Just a devastating injury for him, and one that's going to have ramifications for Carolina heading into the offseason as they got to figure out what they're going to do at running back behind Hubbard in 2025. They can run on this Dallas team. A lot of teams have, as Dallas is the 3rd worst rush defense in the NFL, the 27th in rushing yards per attempt given up. Carolina may not be the best when you look at it as a team. They're only 22nd in rushing, 15th in yards per attempt, but Hubbard is 6th in the NFL in rushing yards, has over 1,000 yards first time in his career, and is 3rd in rushing success rate among running backs with at least 200 carries. So he's been good all year long. So they can run on this Dallas team. And, if you can find a way to bottle up Rico Dowdle and this Cowboys rushing attack, maybe start pinning your ears back in after Cooper Rush. And somehow Carolina's found a way to get after the passer the last 3 weeks. 13 sacks, Marcus, the last 3 games. The first 10 games, they had 12. Now, they're still not one of the best pass rushing teams in the NFL in terms of actually getting home, as they're only 28th in the league in sacks, but they've been getting home. And pressure, I think, is greater than sacks, as it typically leads to turnovers. But if you can get home and you can cause turnovers, that can help you win this game, especially when you talk about mental mistakes, not turning the ball over from Dallas' perspective. And then the final one for me is like what I said last week as well. Just finish. Whether that means holding onto the ball with 2 hands and not fumbling, holding onto the ball with 2 hands and not letting it slip through your arms and have that be a drop with the Leggett on Sunday in that game. If they just finish the last 2 weeks, we're sitting here potentially talking about 18, that's 5-8, and is very much alive in the terrible NFC South. Or you're looking at a team that's 6-7 and tied for first place with Tampa and Atlanta. And again, the terrible NFC South. They have let some games slip away from them. Now they still have a lot to fix this offseason, but this has not been the Panthers team we saw that got blown out 47-10 against New Orleans, or 26-3 at home against the Chargers, 36-10 to the Bears, 47-10, or is it 40-7, whatever it was against the Commanders. They've been competitive. They've been right there. They've been close. But close doesn't cut it, man. You got to win these games. I think they have an opportunity in the last 4 games to potentially, triple their win total from a year ago, which would be getting to 6 wins.
We might see like 60 rushing attempts combined in this game, which would be great for us. We'd be done by about 3:30 Eastern time. But I fully expect this to be one of those games where the clock is running a lot, because I think both teams want to try to establish the run. And it makes sense for both of them to do that.
Yeah, I think it should be a competitive, entertaining game for sure. And Carolina's perspective, and you talk about this as well, just being a fan of the game and seeing what Bryce Young's doing, like that has got a lot of people excited about what next year could look like. I still think they have a long way to go to have any sort of talk about the P word, especially considering they have not been able to win enough games the last couple of years, really feel that way heading into 2025. Right. But they certainly, I think a lot of fans should be encouraged by what they've seen. And with Dallas, but they're never going to be bad for too long, because Jerry's not going to let that happen. And you have Dak Prescott, who will be back eventually. Yep. And I know Cowboy fans are hard on Dak. Well, look at where you are again with Dak not out there on the field, not winning games.
Not great. Yeah. I'm just glad we don't have Andy Dalton versus Cooper Rush. This is much more exciting that Bryce Young is playing.